I'd like to introduce to you Mr. John Scholl. He is a founder of the Service Culture and the Service Quality Institute. John is a customer service guru by the time, and he's an author of 7 bestseller books. And I'd like to mention here again that in September, a new 8th book by John Scholl will be published, and it's going to be available in Russian. John Scholl, we're so happy to welcome you here on our live talk.
It's great to be with all of you. I love the Ukraine. It's one of the most beautiful countries in the world. And as all of the men know, you have the most beautiful women in the world.
It's great to hear that. John, tell us, we would like to discuss customer experience today, about what has changed in the customers' and consumers' behavior during the lockdown.
What I have seen in the United States, because I have not left the United States since February. I mean, I've been locked down in this country. Customer service is gone, it's vanished. It is the worst I have ever seen in 40 years. As you recall, you know, in the former Soviet Union, which the Ukraine was part of, it was the philosophy that you ought to be very fortunate that we're going to let you spend money with us, that we're going to give you business. This is the way the United States is right now. The president of the Retail Federation in the United States said about a week ago, it is a privilege, not a right, for you to enter our stores. Well, let me tell you what, this guy is crazy. He's nuts. There, you know, during the lockdown, companies are having huge financial problems. And I think it's going to get a lot worse because customers now are trying to cut their throats. Without customers, you have no future. And this is the time that you got to provide the best customer service you've ever seen in your life, not the worst. And companies throughout the United States are doing everything they can to really upset the customer and to turn the customer off.
So there are no new customer habits that have appeared. But what do we need to do to adapt our service delivery strategies to actually adjust it to the situation, to, at the end of the day, have benefits from the situation currently?
You need to train everybody in your staff right now that taking care of a customer and providing awesome customer service is the most important thing you can do. You better have empowerment. That means that you're flexible with the customers. Sometimes employees are very rule-driven and process-driven. And in the Ukraine, there tends to be even more rules and more policies and more procedures. Your goal is survival. Your goal is to build a big business, to have rapid growth. And the easiest way to do that is with word-of-mouth advertising, where you provide an experience that is so remarkable that people bring their friends, whether you're a restaurant, whether you're in IT, whether you're in retail. It really doesn't matter what business you're in. Everybody has to learn to love the customer and give them the best service they've ever had in their entire lifetime. You ought to be absolutely grateful that somebody is coming to your place of business, whether it be on the phone, whether it be in person or on the internet, and willing to spend money with you.
That's right. Customers always want the staff members of the company to be really fair, to be really responsive, and so to say, dear to customers. Is the situation like this right now, or there are some new factors? What do customers want today?
I think customers want love, they want recognition, they want to feel appreciated. They want to do business with somebody that values them. And right now, many employees and companies are rule-driven, process-driven. I live in Minnesota, which is in the upper part of the United States. And I have this little hardware store that I go by twice a day to work, from work. And the people in there are absolutely wonderful. They probably have 8 employees. I'd rate them a perfect 10. They're unbelievable. And my wife and I, we try to spend as much money as we can with them to support them, but they really value customers. There are so many other companies around that are just awful, just awful. This is the time where you gotta, as an owner of a business, you've gotta be more accommodating to your customers. You gotta be more flexible. You gotta be more understanding than you've ever done before.
What else?
Well, empowerment is one of the core key ingredients of great customer service. And this is not the time to be rigid. And this is the way my manager said, this is the way the owner said we got to do it. You got to be flexible. And if a customer wants it this way, then you got to provide it to them this way. I find that employees are in this country, in the U.S., right now, are very rule-driven, and the management has this attitude, this is the way we're going to do it, and everybody is going to follow these rules and these policies and these procedures. And I think that they need to be 10 times more flexible than they've ever been before.
Okay. Apart from flexibility, what else is crucial? How do today's service delivery standards differ from those that were in the past before the pandemic?
Well, I'll just give you an example. I have some stocks, and my daughter has some stocks with a large firm called Schwab, which is a stock brokerage firm. They've closed all their offices in the United States. If you want to send some money in for an investment, you got to mail it to Orlando, Florida. They have 24/7 service, but the locations are closed. And they call it because of the pandemic. This is a bunch of crap. Let me tell you what, there is no reason that you can't go into a place of business. You can wear a face mask if you want. The employees can wear face masks if you want. But I just think it's a system for these companies to, how do I reduce the level of customer service? You have old customers, people in, like myself, which tend to be a little bit older, and then very young people like Alona, and even younger people. And you got to be creative. You got to be flexible to accommodate all the different types of customers you want. Young people want speed. They want it now. They love technology. They prefer not even to talk to people. They just want to get on the internet, buy it with their phone, buy it on their computer. They don't need to see people. Older people, they like the interactions. They like to see people. They like to visit people. Right now, you cannot afford to lose 25% of your customers. You better be creative and figure out how you're going to take care of every single customer and be accommodating to what they want.
Because the younger people prefer chatting from their smartphones or laptops, while older people like live talk. I mean, talking in person. Are there any other features depending on the segment of the customers you were talking about?
Well, let me just talk about chat. I mean, I can't believe some of the firms in the United States would chat. One firm has a robot. They just routinely have the same stuff. The chats are worthless. There are no humans anymore with the chat lines. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, some of us are going to have people come to our place of business, and we need to have hours that are convenient to the customer. We have to have policies and systems that are flexible, that are easy for people to interface with. Right now with COVID-19, there are many American firms that are very arrogant. I mean, absolute, total arrogance. I'll give you an example. There's a very large firm called Trader Joe's. They have about 800 locations. And I had to return some flowers that I'd bought in Orchid for my wife. And they had huge lines. They only allowed a few people into the store at one time. Now, all the other supermarkets, they don't have any limitations. When I finally got in there, it took me several weeks because I'm not going to wait in a line for 20 or 30 people. I went to return it. They got the manager and he said, "Do you have a sales slip?" I said, "No." And then he did some more checking. He says, "Number one, you didn't buy it here. And number two, we're not going to give you a refund because we never carried it, and you don't have a receipt." So I called him an ass. He didn't like my language. I said, "I'm never coming back," and I've never been back since, and I've told thousands and thousands of other people. Absolute arrogance. Supermarkets in this country are the most customer-driven companies of all industries. Trader Joe's is not going to survive with the arrogance that it has.
But at the same time, through the Zoom platform, like we're using it right now to actively communicate online, with this, for instance, their technical support is based on the chat bots. At the same time, their brand is growing. So where is this fine line, this verge between in-person service versus automated service?
Well, I think if we looked at Zoom, the company is going straight up like this. They've taken advantage of the pandemic, and I think they're providing good technology, flexible technology. Much of it is free for people. I mean, everybody is using Zoom, but they understand the benefit of technology and they use technology. Keep in mind, technology doesn't always work. And when there's a failure, you have to have people with the ability to communicate with the company. It could be by email. Some people love email. It could be by Facebook. Some people love Facebook. It could be by chat, but you got to have humans. And I've seen the chat disappear in the United States with companies. And then you have to have live interaction. You've got, there are places that people like to physically go. And then some people prefer to, just pick up their phone and then call. And you got
You were mentioning that companies have to be responsive, especially in this crisis period. We need to train our people much more. So what do we have to tell our people? What are they supposed to do in these difficult times?
Well, I think there's several principles of great customer service, and none of them are complicated. Number one is you got to smile. There's nothing better than a smile. Number two, recognize the customer. Call them by their name. If you don't know their name, ask them their name. Number three, have speed in everything you do. If you're in your 80 years old, people like to go slow. If you're 25 years old or 45 years old, people want things fast. You got to treat everybody like a king or a queen, like royalty, regardless of their age, their color, their sex, their education. Everybody needs to be treated like a king or a queen. You got to have this warmth. You got to have this personality. And in the Ukraine, that's part of the culture. It's easy for people to do that. Now, the one thing that the Ukraine has that's a mistake is that most companies believe that having a lot of extra people is better customer service. And most organizations in the Ukraine have way too many employees. With COVID-19, you need to reduce your costs and you need to eliminate the dead people. And my estimate is in the Ukraine is at least 10% of the workforce are irrelevant, non-necessary, incompetent. You're just wasting money. You're pouring money down a rat hole. And you have to develop your people so they're customer friendly. And if they don't respond to the message, send them to your competition.
How to bring up this customer-centric approach? How to make sure your employees love your customers? How do you teach them how to take care of them?
Well, that's really the strength of Service Quality Institute. I hope Marina and my staff is on the call. All of our programs, or most of our programs, are in Russian. And we teach three things. You got to change attitudes and behavior. So when somebody walks in your store, they're on the phone, they're on Zoom, whatever it is, treat them like a king or a queen. We just assume that people do that, but they don't. The second thing is you got to teach people the skills. The art of customer service is not complicated. You know, if I had a restaurant, I don't know if there's any restaurants on this call right now, but it would be so easy right now to make more money than anybody else. I would know everybody's name. When somebody comes in, if I was the hostess, I'd say, "Good afternoon, sir," or "Good evening, sir. My name is Alona. What is yours?" "Oh, it's Mr. Shoul." "Mr. Shoul, thank you. Have you ever been here to our restaurant before, Mr. Shoul?" "This is your first time." "That's great, Mr. Shoul. Let me introduce you to Marina. Marina is going to be your waitress. Marina, this is Mr. Shoul. He's our brand new customer. Let's really take good care of him. He's the most valuable person we have in our restaurant. Question is, does that ever happen in the Ukraine? In the United States, it doesn't happen. Now, you don't need to have more employees to do that. You just need to teach people the skills of customer service. You need to teach them the skills of how to remember and use a customer's name and why it's important. But you have to educate your total workforce. The weakest link will destroy you. If you had a restaurant, for example, the cook could destroy you. The hostess could destroy you. The wait person, the busboy. There's many different people that could destroy your business. You want to make sure that everybody is focusing in whatever your business is on taking care of the customer and exceeding the customer's expectations. The CEO, the owner, the manager of your business, if that's your role, you got to be relentless and you got to drive this as a strategy.
One of the participants is asking a question through the chat. She recalled a story about taking care of bank customers. Actually, what they tried to do, they trained their people, for instance, to take care of blind customers. So they actually closed their eyes and pretended they were blind, and they this way they developed the culture of serving people with disabilities, for instance. Do you think this is a positive experience?
I think it's a viable thing. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of, or I suppose it's good, there's not a lot of blind people around. I don't think it's real complicated. I started in 1979, before most of you were all born, and I saw customer service being pretty weak in the United States, and I said, why? And I figured out that nobody had ever been trained in customer service. So in January of 1980, I rolled out the world's first customer service training program. And we've trained millions of people in every corner of the world since then. And it's based on 6 principles that all of you could use. Number one, you got to feel good about yourself. If you got 10 employees or 200 employees got personal problems. They got problems with their girlfriends, their boyfriends, their spouse. They got problems meeting their rent payments, their car payments. So we got to uplift the spirit. We got to make people feel good about themselves. Second, we got to practice habits of courtesy. And this takes seconds. Now, I know that you guys are in love with Russia, but you know that in Russia, there's a law that you can't smile. And, you know, think of all the times in your lifetime you've ever been to Russia. You could probably count on one hand all the times you've seen people smile. Well, the benefit is the Ukraine is not Russia. You're an independent, more successful country, and we want people to smile. And then the third thing is you got to have positive communications, both verbally and non-verbally. You can tell whether you're loved, wanted, or appreciated within seconds. You can hear the body language. You can hear the tone of voice. And then the fourth is you got to perform. You got to do what you said you're going to do. See, you could be the nicest, most polite person in the world, but if you don't do what you said you're going to do, you got bad customer service. And then fifth, we got to listen. We got to really tune in to the customer. And then sixth is you got to know everything about your job. You got to know more than anybody. And you can, again, tell in seconds whether a person knows what they're doing.
How do you figure out that the person is not aware what he or she is doing in a second, for instance, like you're saying?
I think there are some very simple things. Number one, smile. Look at Alona right now. She's got a nice smile on her face. A smile can melt people. Okay. Don't do what the Russians do. Be different. Okay. Smile. And then be very polite. Introduce yourself. Hey, good morning. My name is John. What's yours? Oh, it's Sergey. Sergey, welcome. Well, what is so complicated about using people's names? Let me tell you who uses customers' names. It's little bitty companies like Amazon, Apple. Well, why? These are some of the most successful companies in the world. If they can use the customer's name, why in the hell can't we? They use technology, by the way, at Apple. If you are in the United States and you go into an Apple store, they have people that immediately greet you, and they have an iPad. And they take down your name, what you're looking for, your email address, and then what you don't know is they describe what you look like on their iPad. So they look at Alona, and there's a beautiful woman with dark hair, a white shirt, you know. And so maybe 20 minutes later, somebody comes up and says, Alona, it'll be another 10 minutes. And you're thinking, how'd you know it was me? They use technology. The banks in the Ukraine still use these terminals. You walk into a bank and you have a terminal and you push some buttons if you want to make a deposit, you want to do some transfers, and up comes a little bitty slip of paper with a number on it, and then you go sit on a plastic chair somewhere and you wait for the number to come up on the screen. Use technology. If Apple did that, they wouldn't be one of the number one brand in the United States. If, you know, why not buy an iPad, get some young, attractive girl or guy to greet people at the door that is warm, caring attitude with an iPad, and take down what you're looking for. You don't need those stupid terminals that banks have. And Apple, by the way, has taught T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, all the other phone carriers in the United States to do the same thing. It's not that complicated.
Super, John. People say that culture is eating the strategies for breakfast. But how do we describe customer service standards and how to actually make them binding for the employees and make it part of the company's culture?
Well, Alona, you're right. It has to be part of the culture. That's why my new book, Relentless, is talking about it has to be forever. It can't be for 3 months or for 3 years or for 18 years like they had at Walmart. It has to be a lifetime commitment. Has to be driven by the top management team. And then you need to train and educate all the employees. The turnover rate in the Ukraine is high. By the time you get done training people, many of them are gone, okay? So the attitude of a lot of companies is, why would I train people when they're gonna leave? Well, you have new customers and old customers coming in all the time. They don't care what you did yesterday. They're interested in what are you gonna do for me today? And you wanna make sure that you are teaching people the customer service skills. And one of those skills is empowerment. In trying to get an employee to make an empowered decision to spend $5 US takes 2 miracles at one time. You need to get people to understand there's nothing in your place of business more valuable than a customer. You got to love them, treat them like a king or a queen, and then you become an Amazon or an Apple.
Apart from empowerment, what else should be a canon of the customer service in a corporate culture?
One of the skills I think is service recovery. No matter how good we are, we all screw up. Something goes bad probably every day in every business in the world. I don't care how committed you are. I don't care how focused you are. Stupid stuff happens. In the United States, when there's a problem, employees lie and run for cover. I don't want that to happen in the Ukraine. So I teach 4 steps when you screw up. Number 1 is to act quickly. Quickly means all this has to happen in 60 seconds. That means you don't have time to move it up the chain of command. The employee at the point of contact has to be able to make an empowered decision, which is the one of the 4 parts. Third is you gotta take responsibility. Obviously, we screwed up. It's our fault. I made a mistake. People don't like to lose face. They lie. And they just figure nobody's gonna remember who they talked to. There's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, it sounds like we really screwed up and it's obviously our fault. What's the big deal? And then, as I said, you got to make an empowered decision. And the 4th is you got to compensate. You got to give something away that has high value, low cost. If I was selling software and I had a glitch and something we screwed up on, you could offer extended warranties for free. You could give them upgrades for software. Every person on this Zoom call right now has things of value that you can give away when you screw up, when your company screws up, when an employee screws up. All of you should be identifying at least 10 things that have high value, low cost, where the customer is going to say, oh my God, this is so cool. Service recovery is how do you take a customer from hell to heaven in 60 seconds? A guy that's swearing at you, telling you he's never going to do business with you again. How do you flip that situation so that he falls in love with you and thinks you're the greatest company in the world and the greatest employee in the world? That's what service recovery is all about.
John, I have another question to you. Some of the experts keep saying that customer service metrics like NPS is no longer valid. it is important to understand how we convert loyalty into money, into profit.
Well, I think the NPS score is an effective instrument. The benefit is just one simple question. Would you recommend our company to your friends? The problem with surveys is that we survey everybody. People get tired of surveys. I don't respond very often to surveys anymore. I'm just tired of all surveys. I think nobody cares about them. Nobody listens to them. I think the NPS score is important. If you're not doing it, it's something valuable. So I would disagree with that saying that the NPS scores is no longer valid.
Indeed, but what could help convert customer loyalty into profit, except for in NPS?
Well, you got to provide awesome service. Good service doesn't get you into the game. If you're going to be a service leader and you want to build a culture of customer service, you got to think about what can you do to wow the customer every day with every transaction. Again, whether it be on the phone, whether it be on the internet, whether it be on an email, or whether it be in person. To many employees, the customer is an interruption of their job, the enemy, a pain in the rear end, a jerk. Many people don't love the customers. And you have 2 to 3 seconds. And the customer is very good at reading your body language, hearing your tone of voice, and they can tell how much you appreciate them or don't appreciate them. And then the next thing that can kill you is employees are driven by rules, policies, and procedures. So you could have the most customer-friendly people in the world at your place of business, but you could have really crazy rules, crazy policies, and crazy systems. And employees, they get down on their knees every night and they pray to God, "Dear God, please give me more rules, more policies, more procedures." And the customer gets turned off. So again, if you aren't stripping out your stupid policies, your stupid rules, your stupid systems, you're dead. You're dead. Because employees will enforce your rules. Employees would rather get rid of a customer than to break a rule or a policy. They know that everybody on this Zoom call right now is super rich. They know that every owner of your business is making tons of money, even in the pandemic, okay? You gotta teach people empowerment, and you gotta reinforce it every day. You gotta shine on people that are making empowered decisions, that are doing wild, crazy things. But most importantly is you gotta take a look today or starting tomorrow. What are 5 or 10 things that are stupid that you guys do that get in the way of great customer service, and eliminate them?
Question from one of the participants in the chat. What is the biggest upgrade that you have ever witnessed and experienced after a certain failure? Have you had that situation when after the failure, you do the major upgrade in your customer experience, in your customer service?
I'm going to just use a simple one that happened in the last 30 days. I subscribed to a thing called 1, 2, 3 greetings so I can remember birthdays in special events. And I kept starting to get emails from them saying that your credit card is expired. You need to renew your credit card. And I sent an email into them saying, why in the devil would I renew with 1, 2, 3 greeting cards when I haven't received any notifications for 6 months or 9 months? They responded and they said, you have a personal AOL account and we've had huge problems with AOL and we fixed it. And it's our fault. And we are renewing your membership at no charge next year. They were very specific in the email, people how to handle irate customers in difficult situations. And it ruins an employee's day. Let's say that you start work at 9 o'clock in the morning and at 9:05, somebody calls you on the phone swearing at you. Now, probably in the Ukraine, people would never use bad language. That would only happen in the US. But they're swearing at you anyhow. Okay, they're upset. And you're supposed to be friendly the rest of the day. Well, they just blew you apart. They just chewed you out. They threw you on the ground. Okay, so we need to teach people how to handle an irate customer, a difficult situation, so that you can take the customer and flip them so they fall in love with you. And right now, most employees, if you were in a call center and you start getting irate, what they do is they hang up. They're thinking nobody knows who it is. So you got to teach people how to handle these difficult situations. We have a program called Handling Irate Customers. And in here, in this program, and also in Feelings, we give you 6 steps for handling an irate customer. Number 1 is listen carefully. Really tune in. Let the person expand on what they're saying. And then number 2, put yourself in the customer's position. That gives you empathy. And number 3 is ask questions. And ask questions that force a guy to about what it is. By the way, you could use this with your spouse. You could use it with your boss. And then number 4 is suggest alternatives. Apologize and last, solve the problem. I would say that probably 95% of all employees have never been trained on how to handle an irate customer. And when it happens, it ruins their day.
Отличные рекомендации, 6 шагов. Тут еще уточняющий вопрос у Юлии. Почему вы считаете, что 10% сотрудников в Украине некомпетентны в сервисе и поэтому не нужны компании? Эта точка зрения касается конкретно Украины или это общее наблюдение за персоналом в компаниях по всему миру?
Everywhere in the world.
It is very true all over the CIS countries, Russia, Asia, Africa, the Middle East, not as much in Europe and not as much in the United States. All over Latin America, they got the same problem. Most companies probably have about 25% more employees than they need. They don't care about costs. They don't care about price. They don't care about effectiveness.
I got it. You once shared one advice with me. If you want to have genuine responsibility and empowerment from the employees, they have to be empowered 2 levels higher than their current authority, so to say. Can you explain that phenomenon, please?
Well, every employee to be able to make a fast decision on the spot in favor of the customer. That means you never move it up the chain of command. Now, we're not talking $1 million decisions. We're not talking $1,000 decisions. We're talking about making fast decisions. When you move it up the chain of command, it costs you more money. Most people, like my wife, she will never complain, but she won't go back. She'll never write a letter. She'll never send a text message. She'll never talk to somebody about the elements of poor customer service. She just doesn't go back, okay? So when somebody actually complains, you're very lucky. But you gotta have empowerment And maybe you set a ceiling of $200 or $500. The Ritz-Carlton sets a ceiling of $2,000. But I can count on one hand the times I see an employee making an empowered decision, fast, on the spot, in favor of myself, without calling somebody else up and asking for approval.
What should one do if a customer is abusing your attitude and complaining about something really miserable, something not important? Do we have to still manage this complaint and try to find a compromise decision in favor of the customer? Maybe that customer is nasty. He wants to complain because he wants to get something out of it. Maybe that's the tool that he's using, or she.
2 to 3% of your customers will probably abuse the system and manage. Amazon grew $49 billion last year. I have never had anybody at Amazon tell me no. No is not in their vocabulary. They are not interested in short-term profits. The people are consistently so polite, so gracious, so nice, and they always take care of the customer. They added 175,000 new employees in the month of March and April. Yes, some people are going to take advantage of you. Who cares? And here's the problem with employees. They know that customers lie, that you can't trust the customer. The owner, the manager knows that you can't trust the customers, so nobody trusts the customer. And meanwhile, you lose all your money. All of us have things of high value. Trust your customers. It's so easy to get people to fall in love with you. That's how you create Facebook messages. That's how you get Twitter. That's how you get all the different social media. There's 3 ways to grow your business in the Ukraine. The first way is you go to your local bank and you borrow a few $1 million. And as you know, in the Ukraine, banks love to borrow you lots of money and at very, very low interest rates. The second method is you spend maybe $100,000 a month on ingest. The second method is you spend $100,000 a month on advertising. You go to your local television station, billboards, radio. I'll bet you, Alona, there's 1,000 different methods that you personally could advertise on for KA Group in the Ukraine. Unlimited money is all you need. The third method, which is what I teach, is you provide this awesome, wow customer experience. And then you focus on word of mouth advertising. 80% of your customers are repeat customers. Alona, let's look at the KA Group. 80% of the people over the last few years who've attended your seminars are repeat customers. That's the core of your business. That's true of all of us. We need to get these people to constantly fall in love with us and tell everybody else how awesome we are. And that's where word of mouth comes in. That's the way to grow your business. But good customer service does not get you into the game. You got to wow the customer. You got to deliver a service that is so exceptional that people fall in love with you.
Jen, I wanted to ask you my last question, and I would also suggest our participants to ask some if they have them. If you were asked to describe an ideal, modern, service-oriented employee, what kind of skills and characteristics would you mention about such an employee that can deliver the wow service experience?
The service, and then they train, and they hire only 1 out of every 50 or 100 people they interview. Most companies, if the person's good, they're brought on board. So, secondly, I would encourage you to have several different people interview the employee. Personally, I can get conned very easily. And so I find that when you have other people interview them, it helps. If you were to get a job at Apple, it takes a huge number of interviews to get a job at Apple. At Vernon Hill with Commerce Bank, Republic Bank, Metro Bank, if you don't smile on the initial interview, there is no second interview. So the first thing, and by the way, when you're asking questions, don't say something like, I'm looking for an employee that really loves customers. Oh, I love customers. I really love customers. You don't want to give them leading questions. But you're looking for a smile. You're looking for a warmth. You're looking for a contagious attitude. Every single person I've ever interviewed in the last 30 years says I'm a hard worker. They're a hard worker until they get employed, then they slow down, okay? So you just got to really probe and ask. You're looking for people that love customers, that love great customer service.
Here's a question from one of the participants here, from Dimitri. Wow, sound is so poor. So in a nutshell, the question is about how to find the right balance, high quality service delivery, and
what?
Sorry, I just asked to repeat the question. How to find the right balance between great service delivery and avoiding abuses.
Let me give you an example of a place that I go to probably almost once a week. And it's, again, right on the way home. My office and my home are 5 minutes away. So there's never a traffic problem. There's a dollar store. That means you pay $1, no more than $1 for every single thing in the store. And they're great buys. I mean, these other stores like Target and Walmart, they mark stuff up so much, it's incredible. The people are always really nice at the cashiers, always nice. And when I can't find something, they'll help me find it. They'll tell me where it is. So here's a company with the price of the product. You can't get much cheaper than $1. And they're consistently really good at customer service. So I don't think there's a difference between high value businesses and low value businesses. I just think you treat everybody like a king or a queen. You treat them like royalty. You treat them special. You make it, it's not complicated. It does not take 5 seconds to be nice to somebody. Not be nice. It doesn't take time to say Dobro jutro. It doesn't take time to say, I see you in here a lot. My name is Carmen. What is yours, sir? These are simple skills that you got to teach your people. Marina on my staff is on the call, and Marina, in the chat box your contact information. She's Russian, fluent in Russian, and if any of you are interested in any of our products on customer service, you can deal with Alona. You can deal with, we have a distributor in Ukraine called Bogdan. We have Marina and my staff that can help you. Bogdan, if you would also put in your contact information, it would be great. I love the Ukraine. You got, by the way, in addition to beautiful women, you got some of the best food. Oh my gosh. So Alona, it's once this pandemic disappears, you're going to have to invite me back. We can talk about my new book, Relentless, when I come back.
Yes, the best customer service that most impressed you, that you remember, unlike all the other experiences.
I've had 3 times where I have flown where the person on the plane would constantly use my name. I can remember all 3. I fly a lot, used to fly a lot. Now I don't. Because of the COVID-19, I'm not flying very much. But 3 times. And I spend a lot of money on plane tickets. And I'm not, the flight attendant's coming up to your seat and menu. She's looking at her list and says, is it Mr. I say, yes. I'm not counting that. I'm talking about, think if you had somebody spending $5,000 having dinner with you, would you use the person's name repetitively? 3 times that's happened in my life. 3 times. That's sad, sad. And that's why I say some of these skills are not complicated. And I just don't know why people don't use them. And by the way, let me, one of the skills I think is when you call, when somebody calls and you answer the call in 1 or 2 rings with a live person. So some of us use technology, you push 1, you push 2, you push 7 to go to hell. I think there's only a handful of companies that answer the phone in 1 or 2 rings with a live person. The #1 healthcare facility, healthcare hospital in the United States, there's over 10,000 hospitals, is the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. The Ukraine, the most successful country in the world. I would like to see the Ukraine, the most customer-centered, customer-driven country in the world. I would call Singapore right now #1. In Singapore, if you were kind of look at a map, you have to use a microscope to find Singapore. It's so small. And the Ukraine is a very large country. But I think Ukraine could be the most customer-centered company in all of Europe, in all of the CSI countries, in the entire world. If I was an individual in the Ukraine, I think it would be very easy for anyone to substantially increase their income. #1, I would learn more about customer service and do a better job on customer service than anybody else in the company. #2, I would learn everything there is about the company. I would know more than the owner. I could fill in and solve anything at any time. See, this is how you move up. This is how you make more money. The opportunities in the Ukraine are unlimited. The opportunity is in your hands. You have to build your mind. KA Group has great seminars that you should always attend. You know, the greatest asset you have is in your mind. Anything you can do to build yourself will help you become more successful. I'm teaching my Alona, I don't know if you're still doing it with your son, but my grandson, who just is 10, you know, is still reading 1 personal development book a week. He started at age 7. I'm teaching him how to become the wealthiest man in the world. I'm having trouble getting him to save 25 or 50% of his income. He's 10, he likes to buy toys and different stuff like that, but I'm trying to teach him wealth. So I think you have just this incredible country. I mean, I love the Ukraine. Why not be the most powerful country in the world? And you can do that if you're customer driven.
Какой главный референс кода первоклассного сервиса?
What is the number one reference to top quality service? What's the key word? What's the safeguard to ensure top of the range quality service?
You have to be relentless. There has to be ongoing commitment. You can never let up. It can't be for the year 2020. It has to be for the life of your organization. And you got to get better and better and better every year.
I think this is a great closing of today's event. Indeed, dear friends, customer service is something that you need to improve continuously all the time without stopping. So let us make sure we all deliver best services together to our customers. I'd like to thank everybody who joined us today. We definitely we were recording today's event, so you're going to get the link to this session, and we would like to extend words of sincere gratitude to Jonom Šoulom for sharing your experience, for your inspiration into making customer experience best. Thank you very much, John.
I love all of you. Goodbye, everybody.